Ever experienced the water draining too slowly in a pour over? Well, that's what's known as clogging or stalling, and today I wanted to talk about how we work with or around it. If you guys are new here, my name is Vincent and I'm the head roaster for Tails Coffee, and if you love educational or experimental videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can get the latest updates on my newest techniques. So clogging itself is when the water struggles to pass through the filters and into the bottom, whether you have a carafe or a cup. It's just when the water just kind of stays at the top. Now, let's talk about it. Is it actually the filter that's causing the clogging, or is it the grinds that's causing the clogging? Now, I wanted to show you guys a quick demonstration where we actually get to isolate both the grinds from the filter paper, and this is done with my least favorite dripper ever, the W60. So if you guys aren't familiar with the W60, it's actually this thing. This is where the coffee grinds go, and it's a resin filter. Last time I said it was a metal filter, I corrected it, it's a resin filter. And you get to put a paper filter in this thing. This is pretty much like a W60, a V60, but bigger, okay? So the paper filter goes in here, you can get your coffee grinds in here. So this is how we're gonna isolate what's in the filter and then what's the grinds. To determine whether it's the filter or the grinds, we're gonna actually be brewing them in the W60. So we're gonna have the grinds up here, we're gonna have the paper up here, down here, and we're gonna brew a standard ratio. It's 20 grams of beans, 300 grams of water. I always remove a little bit of the fines beforehand, and let's get right into it.
Hey guys, it's me, Eric, and lately I've been very disappointed in you guys, alright? All I see in the comments is, oh, how do I make my coffee like this? How do I make my coffee like that? I'm gonna need you guys to start coughing up some money, alright? Buy our coffee right now, okay? tailscoffee.com, discount code baby Dogecoin for 15% off, okay? That's tailscoffee.com, link in bio, discount code baby Dogecoin. Go right now, alright? Or next week, I'm gonna come back more angry, alright?
So I've got the W60 set up already. We've preheated the filter underneath it. And as you guys can see on the side, I've also got a V60 set up. I'm gonna explain that a little bit later, but we're first gonna start with a quick brew. I've got 19 grams of coffee in here. I was aiming for 20, but I guess my grinder ate a little bit more than I expected. We first stir it so everything's a little bit more even. We're gonna do 2 pours at 75 grams each. That's gonna be 150 grams of water. And then we'll pour the rest of like the 140 left in the third pour, okay? So I'm gonna show you guys. We're gonna start with a quick one. Because this is a resin filter, it actually brews relatively quickly. So we're gonna make sure to pour with lots of agitation to get as much of everything out as possible. So that's our first one. We're gonna give that a quick stir to open everything up. We're looking to saturate as much as possible with this. And then we're gonna get another pour through. It's 150 grams. So give it another quick stir. And as you guys can see, this is more or less dried up. We're gonna give that a quick tap. And we're gonna move this off. And look what happens underneath it. It's already starting to clog. So as you guys can see, you guys can't see from the bottom side in the bottom of the dripper, but at the bottom of the dripper, when I look down towards it, it's already dripping 1 drop at a time. So it's very slow. Now that we've determined that all the fines are actually getting clogged up in the filters and it's not in the grounds, we don't actually have to worry about the grounds as much. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna finish the brew. Well, we're gonna set this onto another container to catch all the coffees. But let's get the last 150 grams through here and see if there's any more fines to pass through. We're gonna give that a quick stir. Just make sure everything is completely extracted from this coffee. With such a quick resin filter or pour, and would you look at that, like honestly, maybe 150 grams of water actually isn't enough to get rid of all the fines. We're gonna see with this if it continues to drain really slowly or not. But as you can see, the filters tend to clog. If you wanna look over there, it still hasn't finished draining. The filters get clogged because there's too many of the microfines in there. And this one is draining relatively quickly, so not too worried about it right now. But yeah, we're gonna fast forward and see how long this one takes to drain and how long this one takes to drain. And we'll recap back on the other side of the desk. So it's been 5 minutes, guys. I'm actually not gonna wait for the rest of it. As you guys can see though, this is completely clogged up. It really isn't moving. The more tragic one is actually on the other side. It's this one. This one is completely clogged up. It has not moved. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys quickly what's going on inside the filters. We're going to quickly just tip out all the liquids into another container. And yeah, if you want to take a look, guys, there it is. There's a really thick layer of sludge at the bottom. It's actually really nasty. Yeah, that's disgusting. So this is what happens when you have clogged filters. These are from microfines. But yeah, let's get on to the other side and quickly talk about what we learned. I don't expect much from this dripper, but I'm gonna drink it while we talk about this. But at the end of the last clip, as you guys could see, there was a lot of the sludge. Now, let's talk about the sludge itself and where it comes from. The sludge is really just the microfines that are in the coffee, and they're probably stuck to the larger boulders that you're brewing with. And all the fines that are getting flushed out hit the filter, and then they kind of clog it up. Now, when it gets clogged up, as you can see in the W60, it was so clogged up, it wasn't even moving. Like I could have left it there for an hour and then nothing would have continued to drip out, which means if you're brewing with a lot of these fines and you pour multiple times, sometimes the microfines would have clogged the bottom up. And with so much agitation and so much pastiness, the water level actually has to be decently high for it to actually leave the filter, which means you're gonna have a lot of bypass or side channeling, as I call it. I've talked about this before. Water likes to flow through the simplest places where there's least restriction. And in that case, it couldn't even move out, and so it must actually pass through the sides of the filters to get to the bottom of the coffees. So, yeah, it's confirmed. W60, just not it, okay? Back to the actual fines itself. What can we do to kind of deal with it? So there's two ways to do it. There's a way that I saw was really, really smart. It's actually a technique by Lance Hendrick for his World Brewers Cup. I believe it was a 2021 edition. And he actually used a cone filter, like a metal cone filter over the paper V60 filter. And he had moved the cone to another paper filter after all the fines had been swiveled and swished out. Unlike the W60, which has a very flat bottom resin filter, you don't actually get to, it's not easy to flush all the microfines out as if you were to use a larger brewer like the cone metal filter, okay? But another way is actually what I do in the single pours, and that is to stir. The idea actually comes from like the gold rush times. And when you like panhandle things, the more you shift it, the more the heavy things sink to the bottom. And so the idea is when you stir, all your heavier grinds kind of stay at the bottom and all the finer ones get pushed up and to the sides. So it's actually kind of important to make sure if you don't want your slurry to be completely covered with the microfines, you want to have a higher kind of lift in your slurry, so you want to pour a little bit more water so that when you stir, you can actually have more surface area to catch the microfines, which then prevent the water from stalling, and you get a nice, decent flow rate, which is why I quite like the single pour. It's because when you do multiple pours, the coffee bed tends to stay at the very lowest point, and you don't actually get to cover all the area of your dripper. So another way to kind of deal with everything and all the clogging issue is to actually use coarser grinds. Now for myself, because I look for even extraction and a quicker to brew time, I actually still like to stick with my finer grinds. But if you prefer to have multiple pours, that's fine. The coarser your grinds, the more, I guess, the bigger the standard of deviation. But if you do what I do and kind of try to remove all the static particles, you'll remove quite a bit of the deviation actually. Whatever happens then is you're gonna have less fines because your overall grind size is gonna be a little bit larger. Because I use smaller ones, we're gonna have more fines. So maybe the next time I do this test, I could probably use a little bit of a larger grind size, and we'll have a little bit less microfines kind of clogging it up. Obviously, I wanted to show this to you because it's a little bit more impactful this way, but, oh, holy, sorry about that guys. The W60 is so bad, I'm actually just allergic to it. But yeah, like I was saying, those are the three main ways that you can kind of deal with it. You could be like Lance, use his technique and use kind of like the metal cone filter over a paper filter. If you guys haven't watched this video on it, I think he actually has it on his YouTube. Look up his, I believe it's the World Brewers Cup like routine or something like that. It's really cool. I thought it was really interesting. Or you could be like me, and then we brew to a higher point, and when we stir, we actually sling out all the lighter grinds, which then cover up more of the filter paper. That's why you guys get to see in my single pour videos at the end, they're quite high on the walls, and we have all the microfines there. This allows all the water to actually have more resistance along the walls, so it pushes more of the water through the flavors or the larger grinds in the middle, which allows me to have a higher extraction. And then the third option is to just use a slightly larger, like a coarser grind size. I wouldn't go too coarse, it depends on how you like to brew, but if you go coarser and you remove some of the lighter particles that get shot out of your grinder, then you're gonna have less microfines and it's gonna have less clogging. So those are the three main tips. Let me know in the comments below if you guys knew about this or if you guys use any of these techniques. How does it affect your coffees? Do you find clogging or stalling an issue with when you're brewing your coffees? And as always, happy brewing, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.